Hey, good morning, everybody. Mike Shea, Transworld Business Advisors. So, I Monday morning I went out on a listing appointment to a pizza parlor, and this pizza parlor is located literally right on campus with one of the major universities here in Central Florida. So, college kids, beer. This pizza parlor had been there for 37 years. So, young couple had owned it about a year. They had actually improved it. Sales were up 35% to the prior year. But first time business owners didn't really realize how hard the work was involved. They had a young family, so they wanted to sell the business. Fantastic, great. So I got the tax return, and tax return showed $790,000 in revenue for prior year. And I said, when did you buy it? Well, we bought it in May. I said, so there was no depreciation on the tax return. There was nothing on the balance sheet. They paid taxes in 2019 because, we'll talk about that in a minute. But 790 based on what they were doing in monthly sales. I said, so you bought the corporation? Yes, we bought the corporation. I said, did you have a broker? They said no. I said, who's your CPA? Well, we just used the accountant that the previous seller was doing. So then my next question was, because I've dealt with colleges and universities as landlords before, I said, talk to me about what's going on with the school and in light of COVID. How are they dealing with the tenants? How have they been? Well, they've been fine. So I said, well, what about your lease? When's your lease up? Well, our lease is up at the end of the year, and we're supposed to get a renewal for a 3-year. I said, so you assumed the lease? They said yes. The seller told us it would be easier to just buy the corporation. That way the lease would just transfer over to us. So I said, we need to check on the lease because no one's going to buy the business until we have a new lease. So we need to kind of get rolling on that. She said, great. I have a meeting with them next week anyway. So we filled out listing paperwork. All was good. They were happy, et cetera, et cetera. The next morning I got a phone call. They had jumped right away on getting with the landlord with regard to the lease. And turns out the college is going to tear the building down, and they have to get out of the building by April. So their investment, although it was massively large, is in effect lost. They will not be able to recoup that investment. So why do I share this? I share this because when you buy a business, if you do not have good advisors around you, the hardest thing a business buyer has to do or should do is formulate their team and make sure their team is competent. Because as a buyer without experience, you don't know what you don't know. Buying a corporation. In all the deals I've ever done, over 300 of them, I can count on one hand how many times we've done stock sales. They are not always a bad thing, but they come with problems and or red flags that have to be addressed, specifically this lease. And then specifically, they gave up some taxation positives by resetting the balance sheet, which, if they'd had a competent CPA, instead of just assuming the CPA of the former owner, they probably would have gotten different advice. But, that's just one example. The other example is this glaring mistake made with regard to the lease. Not knowing to ask the question about the lease and what the implications of just buying the corporation. Sometimes that's a smart play, but you have to have wisdom and judgment in light of how universities behave, in light of how universities make money, because let me tell you, it's a business, and how they look at tenants in light of where their true revenues come from. That building's being torn down, and something new is being put in related to medical technology and a medical school. So the bottom line was this poor family, made a series of bad mistakes, all because they didn't seek out good counsel and judgment. So no matter what, whether you're choosing to use Transworld or not, make sure you get a good lawyer, make sure you get a good CPA, make sure you get a good business broker who has experience, judgment, wisdom, and can read the tea leaves with regard to possible problems. Every deal is going to have hair on it, no matter what. but you need to be able to anticipate what could happen and take appropriate action. So feel free to give us a call, 321-287-0349, or visit us at www.yourfloridabusinessbroker.com.